there are no need for introductions. I'm Shanti Stewart. You know why I'm here. Let's get into it. So the Spurs and Timberwolves game played on Tuesday it showed me a lot of what I think about these two teams. For Minnesota, I think that this is a team that is very talented, right? Competitive nature, plays tough, plays physical, but Chris Finch and company have to figure out how to create offense consistently because their offense is predicated on on Anthony Edwards being elite and everybody else following up. And Julius Randle has been nowhere to be found. Jay McDaniels has been nowhere to be found. Naz Reid has been the most consistent the most consistent non-Anthony Edwards guy on this team to this point. I just haven't gotten enough from those guys. And because if this series was going to do what I thought it was going to do, then those other guys were going to have to play well. They were going to have to play up to a standard. And I just haven't seen that from them at all. When I look at San Antonio, I look at a young team that plays with purpose. So much so that it makes me forget that there's a bunch of young 20-somethings running around out there. A lot of them, hey, Wemby's in his third year. Castle's in his second year. Harper is a rookie. And I feel as if those guys play a more veteran style of basketball that has some intentionality to it. San Antonio has been very impressive thus far. I mean, I don't know how many times I have to say this, but I'll say it again. Like this, where they've gotten to from a maturity standpoint, just in these playoffs alone, has been applaudable. I mean, you talk about when you have a guy that is of Wembanyama stature that has grown by leaps and bounds, and Castle, who's also grown, and Dylan Harper, who probably would have won Rookie of the Year on any other franchise. Any other franchise, he's probably the Rookie of the Year, or at least he is battling neck and neck with Con Knuppel and Cooper Flagg for that title, right? Like that's the thing about this team. Like they have young guys that have shown exponential growth, but then you look at guys like Devin Vassell, Keldon Johnson, Champagnie, De'Aaron Fox, who I thought De'Aaron Fox going into these playoffs, I said he would be pivotal to them making a championship push. If he isn't great, if he isn't able to help stabilize that group, then they won't be able to make a deep run. And he's been exactly what he's needed to be. You know, they don't have an offense that's predicated on one guy being the sole focus. They play more of a round robin style, which is like everybody. It's libertarian. Everybody has an opportunity to go kill, and those guys, for what it's worth, have done so. They've all been instilled with the confidence to be able to go take big shots and make big shots. There is no hierarchy to a degree, and they play great team ball, and that's all you really can ask for a group at this stage. Now, because we had to wait a few days in between recording, we missed some things, right? And obviously, the elbow that caused the suspension will cause the ejection in Game 4 that led to the Timberwolves tying the series up at 2-2. That was a dirty play, and you can't lose your cool if you're Wemby. He'll learn from this moment. He'll be fine from it. That's it. I don't think he'll have a moment like that again. If he continues to have moments like that, then a narrative will be built and a case can be built about him as a player. But I don't think we'll see that from him for quite some time. But I mean, we at least know that he can get to that point, right? The excuse from Miss Johnson and Spurs fans alike, I'm not buying. The physicality that has been geared towards Wemby is no different than we've seen from any great big man that's been in the playoffs. This is playoff basketball. And if we always talk about how we revered the 90s and the 2000s and the 80s for their physicality and how they got to play a man's game, then we can't then cower once we see a hint of physicality towards Buddy. Bigger, larger, physically imposing players do not get the grace of ticky-tack fouls. They just don't. LeBron hasn't gotten it. Shaq didn't get it. Any elite like any elite physically imposing player typically doesn't get those types of calls. So it's no different. It's no different. And it's simply been what the league standard has been. And I don't necessarily care for it to change now because I look at the dude and say, bro, you're 7'5". How many more advantages could you possibly need? And if we're going to call these things, which a lot, you know what I'm saying, then I would need to look at the other end and say, damn, how many times are you going to slap guys in the face? And again, may merely be by accident. Or maybe because you Stretch Armstrong. I don't know. But then the narrative that is put forth by that NBC broadcast, nasty work. Absolute nasty work to frame this as if this was a redemption story of a guy who was done wrong by the league. What probably should have happened didn't happen. He didn't get suspended for a game, even though what he did does warrant a suspension. An intentional elbow to somebody's neck is enough to be like, hey, look, we got to know absolutely zero tolerance for that in this game. Right? But the league has made it very clear. This is the guy. This is our golden goose. You mofos will not touch him, breathe on him, look at him, or you will be suspended. If any other player were to do what Wemby did, for example, say that was Jaden McDaniels, right? And he bowls Stephon Castle, smack dab in the throat, right in the jugular. Jaden McDaniels is out for a game. It's a flavor 2, an ejection, a fine, and he's out for the next game. What's even more damning about not suspending him for a game is that there was no fine. LaMelo Ball, for a play that didn't even warrant him being ejected, got hit with about 30 racks for that for that play against Bam Adebayo. Jay McDaniels and Nikola Jokic for a tussle up. Not even no punches thrown, no nothing thrown around, none of that. No pushing there, shoving either. Ran up on him after what he thought was a disrespectful gesture to score right there at the end of the game. Listen, I'm getting fined $50K. There is no excuse I am willing to hear from any person from that fandom about how this was the right thing to do. Did I want Wemby suspended? Not necessarily, because obviously the allure of the Spurs is watching Wemby play. The amazement of a guy at 7'5" with this kind of ability is the reason why we want to really watch the Spurs to this point, right? That along with their other young guys. But the league has set a nasty precedent. And we know in Adam Silver's NBA, the one thing they lack is integrity. So no surprise for me, Adam Silver, at any chance he gets to be able to put his foot down and show that I actually run the show, I'm actually going to set a standard. And the NBA has been so clear on we're here to make money. All of this ethical stuff, and that's another thing too. That ethical ball spiel that we got from Wemby and them boys, cut it. Please. Cut that shit out. I don't want to hear that BS at all. And if you're a fan talking about, why don't you love my ethical playing basketball team? Brother, you're a weenie. Let's be very clear. If you ever get on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook alike, and talk about, why don't you love my ethical hooping basketball team? Brother, you're a Weenie Hut Jr., Weenie Hut General, the Weenie Hut Sergeant is what you are. Please don't ever say that shit. Now, let me give credit to the Cleveland Cavaliers because I thought y'all were dead in the water. I thought you would get game 3. Did not see you getting the game 4. Donovan Mitchell looked like the Donovan Mitchell that we've known to grow and love and gave you 42 points in game 4, most of which came in that second half where he went berserk. Shout out to the Cleveland Cavaliers. Credit to these guys in particular, though. Jared Allen and Evan Mobley. I thought they played a much bigger role in game 4 in the sense of just being aggressive, getting to the rim, attempting to attack the paint. That's what you have to do. I know these guys are of slender build, but you have to show some force and some brute and get to the rim. You have to. It creates much more problems for a Detroit team that you're still taller than. You know what I'm saying? You still have players that can play up to this level against these guys. I thought this was a great opportunity for Cleveland to get out of the second round and make it to the conference finals. Now, the question I'm gonna have is, will you be able to carry this offensive performance on the road to Detroit? That's the biggest question. James Harden, I'll look over at him. Hey, he jumped out in that game 4. He had like 11 points in the first quarter. Can you carry that type of performance on the road? And here's the thing about James Harden. It's not that he's never had great performances. It's just that when it matters the most, will you perform? This is an instance where it matters a lot. It may not be the absolute most because you're not on the brink of elimination, but it matters a lot to how you are about to play. Donovan Mitchell, we don't expect that explosion of points that you had in game 4, but we do need you still to be solid. And to the others, such as Mobley and Jared Allen, will you bring it? These are the questions. These are still very much the questions. Looking over at Detroit, Jalen Duren, boy, I have not seen a man lose his type of money in this sort of fashion. What we talking about? MC Hammer. Like, we talking about lost the lotto ticket in my pants, put them in the dryer. Put them in the washer and dryer. That's what we talking about right now. He has looked nothing like the guy that people told us about in the regular season. Nothing like the guy that we seen play in the regular season, and just doesn't seem to have the impact on the game the way that we thought he would. It happened in the Orlando series, and that's why that series went 7. It's happening now again, and it's part of the reason why this series is going to end up going 6 games. Detroit, man, I give credit to them I still give credit to how they played. I thought Caris LeVert had a great game in game 4. But, the question is still out there about who's consistently going to be able to step it up for them. They have too many cold periods offensively that they just can't get anything else going. And I still believe they won the series. I believe now it's a best of 3 now, and you'll have 2 of the next 3 games at home if it goes 7. I believe Detroit still gets it done, but I'm looking over at Cleveland and just saying, will y'all finally piece it all together and get over the hump? I'm eager to see what the answer is. They play tonight as the time I'm recording this, in a few hours actually. So we'll see. Let me start by saying my Los Angeles Lakers, man. And I hate to do this. And I despise giving out moral victories, but I got to commend my team for sure. I did not think with no Luka, with no Austin Reed for chunks of the playoffs that we will be able to compete at this level and make it to the next round 1, getting past Houston. The amount of buy-in from the coaching staff, from every player that plays significant minutes, guys that got opportunities to play in the series like Bronny James, Thiero, guys like Luke Kennard who got an opportunity to have a larger role and seize the moment at times. Austin Reeves, for a guy that we question, people truly question, and I was one of those people that question, like, man, can you play up against elite level defense? Can you match up against physicality? And after game 1 against OKC, he proceeded to do that in the remaining games. I'm proud of my group. Obviously, LeBron James, there's no words for the guy. You know what I'm saying? He's the GOAT. He's the greatest of all time. Argue with your mama. You know what I'm saying? But even at this stage of his career, still being able to be one of the best players on the floor, impact the game the way that he was able to. I respect the fact that OKC may just be an all-timer in terms of teams that we've seen. If they go do this and go pull off a back-to-back, then the conversations around them and surrounding some of their players are going to get very uncomfortable for the rest of the league. And I'm more than eager to have those conversations. I think it's going to be great for the summer if we get to have those conversations. But yeah, I'm very proud of. I'm very proud of how this team came out, how this team fought. They exceeded my expectations. If you look through the channel, I was very critical of the roster that we put together going into this year. At certain times of the year when things started to go left, and even when things were getting right, I just didn't always quite have the belief in this group. But I think that was the fact of maybe not believing in the head coach to the degree that maybe I should. Like, JJ Redick is one of the best coaches in the game, and you can say it's because of the players he has at his disposal. Look, he dealt with a franchise altering trade in his first season as a inexperienced head coach and still got that team to 50 wins and a top 4 seed in the West. Following up the next year with more wins on top of that, right? The level of intensity he brings to this team and what I believe he's able to do with the talent that he's given, his resourcefulness, is something that I need my franchise to give him the talent. Give him the requisite weapons to go into war with, and let's see how he dukes it out with some of the best. I thought in this series, they had a plan. They executed said plan, and then you ran up against a better team. And that is what it is. When I look at the OKC Thunder, though, man, this team, boy, I knew they were deep. I think we all knew they were deep. But to the degree that AJ Mitchell played and what he was able to do, to the degree that Jared McCain played and what he was able to do, and shout out Daryl Morey for getting fired. But just the myriad of guys they have on that roster that can all step up and all play a vital role. Their biggest key is getting J-Dub back. If there is no J-Dub, then there is no championship coming to OKC again. They need every single player for what I think they're about to see in San Antonio in the next round. But it is what it is. Speaking of SGA, I'll just speak on SGA for a moment. I know people, the noise started to grow and rumble about SGA maybe not being who we've regarded him as, or in terms of his accolades would reflect, in terms of what his accolades would say he is. But I'll say this: we as the Lakers, we went all out on making sure SGA didn't beat us. That was the game plan. He won't beat us. Make the others do it, and they did it. And in that final game, in Game 4, he finally had a game. He finally had a game where it was me and not we. I'm gonna go get it. I'm gonna go kill. And it was him and AJ Mitchell that both did so. I mean, it is what it is. I know people are they gonna have a hard time with how they place Shea because of his accomplishments. His accomplishments warrant him being in a rarefied air that we didn't think we'd see many people get to. But you watch at times and it doesn't feel like some of the other guys that we're going to be talking about. Like, it doesn't feel like Steph. It doesn't feel like LeBron. It doesn't feel like Jordan. You know what I'm saying? To this point, it doesn't even really feel, it doesn't necessarily feel like Kobe either. So it's a level of discomfort that's going to come with the Shai Gilgeous-Alexander conversation that I am eager to see what happens with it. But with that being said, still got some housekeeping things to take care of before we get up out of here. If I'm talking about LeBron James, right, and what I think he should do, where I think he should head next year, or what I think he should do, LeBron James should stay a Los Angeles Laker. In my humble opinion, I don't believe there's a situation out there that LeBron will be able to go to and be the number 2 option and take a team to the promised land. I don't believe going to Golden State gets you closer to a championship. I don't believe going back to Cleveland gets you closer to a championship. I believe the best situation for you is in LA as a Laker. What I believe should happen, if everything were to be normal going into the regular season, and you're able to fill out this roster with more talent on the back half of it and get more guys coming off the bench that can contribute, I would like to see LeBron have more minutes as the solo guy or with just him and Austin Reeves. I would like to see LeBron still have the opportunity to lead a group because I believe that's who he's been at his core. At his very best, that's who he's been. And he's still allowed to play off the ball with Luka and AR on the floor and play that third man role. I don't want to relegate him to call him a third option because he's much better than a third option. But I believe that there should be times where LeBron's running my second unit and maximize that group to the fullest of its ability and the fullest of its potential, because that's been what he's been best at throughout the entirety of his career. I believe that if the Lakers take that approach to this season and how they make this roster, then I believe this team will have a chance to compete with some of the best teams in the West. But with that being said, I'm your host, Shanti Stewart. This is Jim Dropper Sports, and I'm out.